Hello everyone, it's Thumper, the Rabid Rabbit. It's episode 21 of No Bun Land. We're on the No Man's Land farm in Farming Simulator 22. Just got done turning over, well at least cultivating these fields and throwing down a little fertilizer, and we do need to seed them. Not today, but tomorrow. And I'm just looking at our very low budget number, and I am acutely aware at this point that there's absolutely no way we're planting these fields for $5,000. So, since there's a little bit of daylight left, not going to be keeping this wood for the dream of the sawmill. Gonna go ahead and go through the work of cashing it in now. We've got a couple piles here, and I got a few piles over on the new plot of land as well that I had cleared out previously. I was kind of hoping to store it for rainy day, but this is going to be rainy day because, yeah, we're going to need probably a couple tens of thousands to plant all these fields. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it in now because I know I'm going to need it. No reason to wait. So I'm just going to run through that real quick here, and then we'll see what our budget is before we flip over to September and get started on the seeding work. Almost 11,000. That's off of the stack of wood I had over in the north field there, and then one of the two piles here in the new field. This is the second pile. They're all pretty decent trees, so might see a few thousand more off of this, but this is gonna definitely be a much better starting point than 5,000. Probably gonna be closer to like, what, 14 maybe? Let's see what we got here. 13.3. That'll do. We can start with that, because I still have another backup idea in the form of some piggies that are worth money. So I think we're going to need more than 13, but I think we can probably score another 5 or 10 off the pigs still too. So this will get us started. And nothing good in the used vehicle sale for August, so just wanted to make sure I checked that before I jump forward to September and get down to business. Just so happens I have a couple containers of seeds here that are not empty. Actually, a fairly substantial amount of seed, which is helpful. I think there's 850 in this one, and what did I see? Either 300 or 500 in the other one. So I'm going to bring this with me up to the shop because we will be loading it in. One of these days, I swear I'm going to buy the plot of land the shop's on so I can make myself a legit road through here. I did grab the, oh, I forgot the name of it. Is the Vanta? This red cedar. I would love to get the larger one, the wider one. But, budget. We're on a budget, and renting the wide, like 14, or I guess it's 12 or 14 meter wide cedar, that's like 10 grand just to just to lease the thing. And this thing is touchy about the activation zone. Oh, there we go. Ah, come on. Come on. Keep going, you little bastard. There we go. You know, I kind of want to do a little bit of math on that lease equation, though, because the AI farmer, which I always use for seeding because they're more accurate than me driving by hand, at least especially with the small seeder. Maybe if I was using the large seeder, I'd be more willing to do more of it by hand, which would actually save more money. But it kind of makes me wonder you know, with the larger seeder being 3 times the width, would that actually cut down the AI farmer time, you know, to 1/3 of the time, you know? Like if it takes an hour to seed this field, which I think it's about what it takes with this, because I've done it a couple times. I think it takes close to an hour to seed this field. And the AI farmer is a dollar per like real-time second. So do the math on that. 3,600. So it's about $3,600 for the AI farmer to run for an hour and seed this field. So if leasing this thing for the hour is what was it like? I think it was like $2,500 or $3,000, and leasing the big one is, I want to say it was around $8,000. You know, you save $2,400, which means you could have spent $5,000 on the lease instead of $2,500 on the lease. Doesn't quite add up, but what if you're seeding the other large field, which takes another hour plus, right? That's potentially another $2,400 in AI farmer labor as well, right? So that's suddenly $7,500 you save in labor by having the larger seeder. Well, you know, that's pretty close to the cost of leasing the larger seeder, right? So that's the thing I'm trying to figure out here is I don't think I quite am at that break-even point with just these 2 fields, but I get the sense. Sorry, I just had to make sure I had canola set here. That's what I want to do first. Starting about halfway. Oh, I can see my other line there. Yeah, I'll just do it the same as last time. But I think it's going to make more sense to start on the edge of the field. Oh my god, the weed situation. We'll definitely be going over this with the weeder. Which, back to my previous point, I don't really want to cut in halfway here. I have that existing line to the left there. I'm just going to stick with that. It just makes more sense. Get a lot higher yield off the wheat anyway, so. Sorry, distractions. Let's start here at the end. Anyway, point being, a larger or wider weeder, a larger or wider seeder could potentially cut down on labor costs that would offset the higher costs of leasing or even owning those pieces of equipment. But I'm not sure where the break even is. I'm thinking it's probably, if I'm turning over at least 3 large fields, maybe a little bit more. But I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. So, to stay on budget here, and of course you have to have the money to do that in the first place, which I don't. So we're going to spend the money we have doing this field. We'll seed it. We'll get the canola in this half, or 2/3, and then we'll get the wheat in the other part of the field. And then we'll weed it, and we'll see how much money we have left. And that'll determine whether I want to try and put grass in the north field for the winter, because that's also worth somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 worth of silage, depending on how much, whether I can get, you know, one full and one partial or 2 full cuts out of that field. So it definitely will pay for itself if we can get the capital to do it now. And again, not doing loans in this series, so I can't borrow it. Gotta get it out of somewhere. Might be out of the piggies. Let's get this field done first, though. while the AI farmer's finishing the seeding there, I'm just playing around with the sheep options. I would love to do the largest of the sheep barns here. My vision is to stick it kind of right next to this rock where the rock won't block access to it, but isn't really productive space right there. This cutout over here I've been thinking about using as like expansion farmland, but I don't like how small it is. But I do have my eye on that sawmill. And it's a relatively inexpensive production to get higher value out of our wood. It's only 20 grand, so that's why I'm interested in dropping this. Might put it further down, leave some room for like a spinnery on the other side of the rock here. But I think it leaves it enough clearance from the field. The key is that the turnarounds for this field are on the other ends, and this is the side of the field, so the clearance isn't quite as critical, but I think we could sneak it in there. It's 20 grand for the sawmill, it's 97 grand, plus the sheep we need to put in there for the sheep, so yeah, that's gonna be like $100,000 plus project, 120 maybe, I'm not sure. We could do that with a silage haul, but we have to do it with a silage haul that's not encumbered with other expenses like seeding and harvesting and so forth. So we got to watch out for that opportunity. But the idea of getting a sheep barn here, and if we can afford it, spinnery like right next to it or behind it here, so it's easy to transfer the wool, would work out nicely for our first sort of official production chain. But for now, we're still on a budget, and we're gonna just run the seeder here for a bit. Seeder, shit. We're gonna run the weeder that we own here, 6 meters wide, so a little bit should go a little quicker than the seeding does. I haven't turned the seeder back in yet because now what I'm doing is I'm watching the money. It shouldn't take a full hour. We might run down to about 6 grand, 6,500, getting the weeding done on this field. But that's all I'm gonna do for this field. So we're just gonna let it ride. We're not pulling the rocks out. I could put down another application of fertilizer later if the budget allows. We have basically up until right before harvest time to do that. So there may be a good opportunity to do that after our next silage sale if we want to get another I think that would give us another 25% yield bonus, because we're only going to be at like 70 or 75% because we haven't done rolling. We've only got the one application down, but the fertilizer bonus is a big one. So a second application of fertilizer, if we're going to do anything, that's the one thing we can do, and it would pay off. So we'll watch for that opportunity as well. All right, it's 9:57. That only took 40 minutes, not the full hour that the seeding took. So a little bit less expensive than I was expecting. Still have over $7,200, so I'm liking that. There's not a whole lot of seed left in the seeder. So at this point, it's how much financial investment are we willing to make into seed for planting the grass, and then how much will we spend on AI farmer to go weed, or will we go weed it by hand, or will we even care? In fact, I might go run the weeder over it first and see what's remaining, and then I think we'll use the seeder up into its next interval. It was at 1.1 hours on the lease, so I'm not sure how much of that field we can seed in 0.9 of an hour, but if we can avoid the next hour lease fee, that would be probably a good goal. So we'll put some seed in it and we'll see how far we can go. Alright, slight change of plans. Before I go up and work on the north field there, I think the grass, oh, here goes the voice again. Wonderful. I think the grass planting and silage harvesting is going to be worth a few more dollars, because we will get at least a trailer load, maybe 2 or more, out of that field. That's going to be anywhere from, you know, like I said, probably 30 to 50 grand worth of silage we can make off that field. So I'm selling 1 trailer load worth of pigs. The slightly higher value ones, 800 and 650 for the rest of them, which isn't as much as I would ideally like to get out of them. But the pigsty was also full, so it does open up a little bit of space, because there are a lot of pigs in there that are reproduction age, and they'll reproduce every few months, I think it is. So opens up a little bit of room for some younger ones to fill that up without having to buy them, which is ideal, and gets our budget from 7 grand up to almost 17. So that gives us a lot more comfortable working space here to go seed the north field. I still want to avoid the lease charge, so it's still my intent to just run the weeder here, and then we'll go fill up the seeder and run it for the full 0.9 we have left before the next fee. And I don't think that'll be the whole field, because I think it takes more than an hour to seed this field with that unit, because it's only 4 meters wide. But that's still okay. It'll be, geez, you know, 2/3 or 5ths probably the majority of this field, which is still going to be, you know, another 20,000+ in silage per harvest, and we should be able to pull 2 out before we have to turn it over for the sorghum. So I'm just going to run the weeder through here first, and then we'll come back and seed. Quick pro tip: if you're playing this map and you're trying to use the shop to fill up here, particularly to put seed. That's interesting. It's not even, it's like 500 liters for 1,000. That's not right, is it? That sounds more expensive. $224 per 1,000. That does not accurately reflect what it's charging me here. Because it just charged me 1,000 for 500. Yeah, and then 500 for another, like, 250. Interesting. That's more expensive than buying the pallets, isn't it? Well. Anyway, I was gonna say, pro tip, you have to open the lid or it won't let you fill from there, but maybe you don't want to fill from there. I'm gonna have to double check that. I don't know, because it says 224 per 1,000 liters, but what it really is like about 2,000 for 1,000 liters, because that was almost $2 a liter. So that price is not accurate. Yeah, well, hopefully I'm not wasting money on seed from the farm shop dispenser there when I should be just buying the pallets. That could be some fuckery. But anyway, we're gonna get some grass into the ground here. And again, the goal is to run this for 0.9 of an hour. A little less now, I guess. And that'll run us right up to the edge of the 2-hour mark. We don't want to hit the 2-hour mark on the rental of the seeder here, because that's another... the hourly rate is a lot more expensive than the daily rate. The daily rate was like 900, then the hourly was like 17 or something like that. So I think we will get most of this field planted with grass. And by most, I mean more than 2/3 of it before we hit that limit, but I got to keep a close eye on the clock and run this thing back to the shop and turn it in before we hit 2 hours. Otherwise, we lose a couple $1,000 more. So here's to hoping. Oh, we're running. We're right on the edge of that limit. I just barely am going to beat the clock back here. Dumping out the 90 liters of seed. We were boned either way. We got more than 2/3 of that north field planted with grass, but we were running out of seed, so we would have had to come back and fill up. We absolutely would have crossed the 2-hour mark by then, so I'm just going to race in here, drop it, and turn it back in. Hopefully right before we hit 2 hours. Come on. Come on. We did not get the fee for another hour, so sweet. That worked out pretty much how I had planned it. And I'm okay with that. So we're just gonna fill up the gas tank here. And then I'll back it in, do the maintenance real quick, because we have run it down quite a bit. Look at this. Already got another 8 hours of work in on the trailer, or on the tractor, on the new Massey. It's amazing how quick that adds up, especially when you're doing the entire process. So we did the whole harvest, the whole turn, and the whole seeding here, all with one tractor. When you're not renting other tractors or using more than one, it adds up pretty quick. Already 3,000 in repairs. But that's okay. I think we're all right. I think we're where we want to be for our seeding and everything. So that's good news. We made it. Didn't have to sell more pigs. Didn't have to chop more trees. That makes me a happy rabbit. And before we close out episode 21, we do have some maintenance things to do here. Plenty of daylight left, and we own this water trailer now, so I'm just refilling the greenhouse. Wasn't empty, but it was getting a little low. And while I'm at it, just going to take a tank over and top off the stone crusher. Right? I keep forgetting the name of this thing. I'm going to say stone crusher. This is the modded stone crusher that not only will crush stone, but also create lime, which is the only reason we have it on this map, because we can't sell stones and we don't have any other production for them, but we can turn them into lime here with water, and that's great because then we've got a pretty bountiful source of lime because of the stones. The red, large stones that always appear on these fields here, no matter what you do, cultivate, plow, whatever. So we have basically unlimited stones. And with our water supply here, it means we can pretty much make unlimited lime. We're making a whole lot more of it than we've used, but maybe if we have more bigger fields, we'll need to be doing that more often. I'm not sure. And our other big task for the day is topping up all the food here, since we've got full silos and the foods are running out on the pigs. Not running out, but it's out of balance. The root crops are just about empty and effectiveness numbers going down. So I'm recalculating out here. We need 17,000 of the sorghum, 8,500 of the wheat, 6,800 of the canola, and about 15 to 1,700 or whatever we can fit in of the sugar beets, which is our root crop. So we're just gonna do a few runs here, dumping the extras back into the silo. Don't want to get out of balance here. There's a limit. You can only put 34,000 liters of food total in, so if you want to keep the balance, you gotta be careful about how much you put in of each. It's a little more than I wanted on the wheat there, but you also can't take it out of the pigsty once you put it in. There's no way to take any of these food elements out. So yeah. I can dump excess from the trailer back in the silo, but I can't rebalance the food. So I'm just trying to be careful of how much I dump in of each here. And unfortunately, I'm ending up a little bit high on all these, which just means the sugar beet amount of sugar beets I'm going to be able to put in is going to be a little bit low. But I think it'll be enough to keep it in balance and give us our highest effectiveness. Plus, the root crop is only contributes to 5% of that, so not the end of the world. Grabbing the bucket here. The crazy part is, this is the same pile of sugar beets that we got out of the first and second season of harvest, and we haven't done sugar beets in, I don't even know now. We've been through at least 5 or 6 more harvests at this point, right? I'm pretty sure, because we've added the north field. We've harvested that a couple of times. So, yeah. We will have to do a root crop again, like corn or sugar beet, to replenish. But this is lasting a long time because it's only 5% of the need, and we don't use it for anything else. So, it's working out fine here. Oh, there we go. It's full. Well, that'll do. That takes care of our piggies. And I think that's a good point for us to wrap up episode 21. We've got our wheat and our canola in. We've got a little more than 2/3 of the grass harvest, or yeah, grass planted in the north field here. We're at stage 1 growth on our other field. So next month, we could sell silage if we need to, but we can also cut wild grass and the south field there. We might even technically be able to get a early cut on the north field, but I don't think we're going to do that. May cost us a little more to do out of cycle silage harvest there, but it'll get us our money back. Not too worried about it. October. Yep, next month will be October, so we'll do it then. Then we'll get another one probably in December or January if the weather's all right off that north field. April's the time for sorghum. If we want to do sugar beet, I don't really have a place to put it, but yeah, sugar beet and potato and all that is in corn. That's all spring, March, April. So maybe if we do cut in another field here, maybe in our new land, we could do a sugar beet crop and still do grass over the winter like we've been doing in the north field. Still got a pretty good inventory. 28,000 wheat, 16,000 canola, 52,000 sorghum. Seeing as how we need 17,000 for a full pigsty, that's another 3.5. And 8,500 of wheat, so that's another 3.5 at least. Straw's okay, yeah. Yeah, and look at how slurry and manure is building up since we didn't use it this year. So for next year's planting or field turn a year from now, we should have plenty of both or either to do a full double application fertilize. That may be the thing we want to buy next, especially if we see it in the shop again. If we see a used slurry tanker in the shop, that may be worth selling some of that silage early to snag, because that's going to be good for us to use our slurry there. But everything else seems to be all set and ready to go, so I think that calls it for September. We'll come back tomorrow, probably going to do a little silage grass harvesting. But otherwise, we are in good shape with $4,000 to spare. So I'll call it for episode 21 here. Thanks for joining me, and as always, take care of yourself, and if you can, someone else too. Have a good night.